Episode 64 with Miguel Blacutt. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Chase Chewning, and this is your weekly source for inspiring content from people who are putting a purpose to their passion and truly living a life ever forward. This is Ever Forward Radio. Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 2 of this week here in March. Fresh back from my trip to California, back from the amazing experience at the Fitness Business Summit 2018. Shout out again to the whole team over at FBS, Bedros Killian, Craig Ballantyne, to see them for the first time, to meet them, to have the opportunity to have all these interviews and interactions with these people that I look up to, that I watch and listen to on a daily basis, was just career making, to be honest. You know, it was my first experience like this. Hopefully not my last. And to all of my new podcast friends, I met a couple great people, in the same space as me. Mr. Bogey was there doing his show, Facebook Live show. I've never seen this before, from Montana, a former military guy himself. He does his content on site, live Facebook streaming, and then repurposes his content there for his podcast. Got to meet the gentleman from Barbell Shrugged, Chris Duffy. I think we sparked a new podcast bromance, man. Again, got to connect with the homies Brian DaCosta and Amanda Bucci. Amanda was actually there as part of the social media guest panel and down in the media room with me recording interviews for her podcast over on Bucci Radio. I can't wait to share the video for this. By the time you're listening to this episode, the video for FBS will either be uploaded. See, this is going live Thursday, March 22nd. Will either be this day or this weekend. So the weekend right around this launch date. I apologize, but Chad, the homie, the amazing cinematographer, Chad Nutter, sent me over the video for the day that he filmed. But I had a vlog that I want to release before then. So if you're listening to this and don't know, I also run a YouTube channel, kind of some behind the scenes into the life of a online coach, a content creator, a podcaster, a husband, a wacky dude who just runs around DC drinking cold brew and quoting Will Ferrell movies. I'll leave it down in the show notes below, but you can also just find me on YouTube. Just search Chase Chewning. I'm your guy. All right, and if it isn't apparent by my voice, I'm not myself. I'm not my norm, so I apologize. But this back and forth with travel and being exposed to such extremes in the weather, beautiful sunny California, coming back to the East Coast where I'm in a blizzard today, been snowed home all day. My sinuses are acting up, so I'll keep the intro a little bit short here. But I do just want to give a shout out to this week's guest, Mr. Miguel Blacutt. We're going to be talking about some really insightful nutrition takeaways. You know, the whole art and science, like this title says, the art and science of everyday nutrition. Yes, when it comes to the food stuffs you're eating, there is a science behind it. What it is doing to and in your body can have a direct correlation and causation to whatever goal you may have before you. But it's also just taking that information and applying it to your goals, to your lifestyle, and eat to live, don't live to eat. So I hope that you take this information with a grain of salt and really appreciate the science behind this. Miguel is making it his life's work to study nutrition and how it directly affects us human beings. We're one of the weirdest things out there. I firmly believe that we will probably never fully understand how the human body works and operates. But there's one thing that I do know, and is that once you get dialed in with your nutrition, eating correctly, eating consistently, I don't care if you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, maintain, build muscle, whatever your composition goals are, whatever your lifestyle is, there is a direct correlation and causation to the energy you put into your body and the energy you have to put back out in the world. This episode is sponsored. This is going to be brought to you by our great friends and amazing team over at Health IQ. Health IQ is a forefront leader in the life insurance space. They know that people like us, people like you listening to this right now, people like Miguel, we take these things seriously. We take our nutrition seriously. We do what we can to improve our mind, our body. We're active. We track our food. We're aware of our nutrition, and we should be rewarded for these things. And when it comes to insuring yourself for the long run with your life insurance policy, Health IQ has an incredible process to look at the coverage you may already have and getting you the best bang for your buck, or walking through their Health IQ quiz, which you can find at healthiq.com/EFR. Really short series of questions, really insightful questions. Honestly, it was really challenging and exciting. It was a great little kind of like nutrition 101, exercise science 101, to really put some things into perspective as far as how well do I know what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, what I'm eating, what I'm not eating. And it gives you a really cool score. Mine's a 194 out of 200. I would love to challenge you all. If you can beat me, please share it with me. Tag me out on Twitter, Instagram. I would love to see your response to this. Maybe, let's make it interesting. Let's do a little giveaway. For all my listeners here, if you can beat my Health IQ score of 194, so if you can get a 195 to 200, let me know. Take the quiz, fill in information, healthiq.com/EFR. I'm going to hook you up, okay? I'll tell you what, I'm literally just making this up as I talk. And this is funny because I said I wasn't going to talk much longer in the intro. But if you can beat a 194 score on the Health IQ quiz, I will give you, I'll do a BPN giveaway and a Force Sigmatic giveaway. How about that? I'm going to combine all of our forces, all of our sponsors here. I'm going to send you one product of your choice from Bare Performance Nutrition and one product of your choice from Force Sigmatic, all right? So make sure you take the quiz, screenshot it, shoot me a message either on Instagram or Twitter. My Instagram is just at Chewning the Elder. My Twitter handle is just at Chase Chewning. And let's compare notes, all right? Let's see who is mo better in the health world. I would love to see these numbers. Thanks again for Health IQ for sponsoring this episode. All this information will be down in the show notes below. All right, so stay tuned for the Fitness Business Summit dropping to my YouTube channel very soon. And please enjoy this conversation with Miguel. And I hope that this gives you some really tangible information to walk away with in your nutrition. All right, Zencastr is recording now.
Yep.
Awesome. Good deal. Okay, about 2 days later, we're finally ready to go. And it's like, I swear this isn't my first time doing a podcast.
I believe you.
So Miguel, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Blacutt, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Blacutt.
Is that double T threw me off. So Mr. Miguel Blacutt, he is going to school us on all kinds of nutritional science. Not only that, just his experience of networking and working for and with some other incredible people in the fitness, health, wellness space. So Miguel, welcome to Everforward Radio, my friend.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much for having me. I've been a long-time listener. I'm a big fan of the Everforward brand, of yourself, your brother, and all the people that you guys surround yourselves with. It's an amazing message.
Thank you, man. I received that. It's always amazing to connect with people that, for whatever reason, connect with us, and then are doing incredible things as well, and then we can reconnect, and help me, because that's how this platform got started. Everforward, what we do, our content is all about just creating what we feel we need to create, and however that resonates with the public is one thing. But man, if it inspires people or helps people to do anything that they wanted to do, what they want to create, that's even mo better, man. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely a great message that I think resonates a lot with people in this industry, entrepreneurs, just forever pushing forward, forever going forward, always looking at the future in front of you instead of dwelling on the past.
That's what it's all about, my friend. That's what it's all about. You get it. So Miguel, introduce yourself, my friend. Introduce us to what you're currently doing, how you got started, and just share with us your story, man.
Cool. So yeah, it's been a long time. It's a long story, a story that I think really resonates with that Everforward message. I guess it all began. My grandmother owned a very large chain of gyms in South America, and then as a result of that, my mother grew up in a gym. Like her playpen was literally inside of a gym. And as a result of that, I also literally grew up in a gym. Like the first day I was legally, or like the gym allowed me to step into the gym, I went there. I went there on my 12th birthday, and I'm damn proud of it. So I accumulated, of course, a lot of passion for the gym, and despite of this passion, I was also very good into. I was very well into academics, and I graduated valedictorian. And for some reason, I decided, hey, let's ignore this passion and go into what is prestigious. Let's go into what everyone is telling me, because I graduated with like 100% in AP calculus and physics and all these things. So I went into engineering, and everything went great. I loved it for the first year, and then it started to dwell on me that this really isn't my calling. I really am not happy doing this. I like getting good grades, but the actual engineering itself wasn't driving me forward. It really wasn't lighting a fire under me. And after 2 years of this, I just finally had enough. I realized that this was not my passion whatsoever. And I should say that meanwhile, I was in engineering. I would spend all of my free time, literally all of my free time, reading peer-reviewed journals, reading full-text articles, interpreting results, methods, even interpreting like different statistical analysis of research. So obviously, fitness and nutrition was just my passion. And so after 2 years of doing biomedical engineering, I put in an application to transfer into McGill University, which is the best university in Canada, to study nutritional biochemistry. I got in and quickly started, reaching out to people, started writing, started releasing YouTube videos. And within a year, I had been published twice by Alan Aragon. I started working for Dr. Layne Norton. I got an internship with Menno Henselmans of Bayesian Bodybuilding, doing bodybuilding research. I grew a YouTube following of 5,000 subscribers, I think. And I became the head coach of Flexible Dieting Lifestyle and chief science officer, and also a coach at Physique Development alongside Austin Current and Alex Bush. That's kind of like the Cliff's Notes.
That's some hell of a progression, man. So many of us, when we get started in this industry, or, really insert any industry that interests you, when you go the writing route, what do we usually do? Just Facebook posts, social media posts, maybe start an official blog. But man, within a year time, you were a published research author. Is that correct?
Not in actual like a peer-reviewed journal, but under Alan Aragon's research review, which is pretty much, I would argue to say it's the most prestigious place you can get published on without it being an actual official scientific document. But if everything goes well, I should be published in actual scientific journals within the next year. I have research being submitted, and if everything goes well within the next year, someone might be citing Blacutt et al.
There it is, man. There it is. What's maybe kind of your niche? What's your one area of expertise or big interest that got you on this national level?
I would say I focus a lot on protein metabolism, specifically amino acids, and looking at optimal meal frequency.
So that's why you and Layne Norton got along so well.
Oh yeah, he loves that stuff. Yeah, all about leucine. Oh, I can tell you all about leucine. I also focus a lot on different hormones and how they affect dieting conditions. So yeah, specifically looking at the hormones in hypocaloric situations. The first paper that I wrote for Alan Aragon was actually looking at the science behind refeed days and looking at whether or not they have an actual efficacy and their effect on a hormone panel when you have a single 24-hour carbohydrate overfeeding.
Yeah, so maybe walk us back to the beginning, man. Big part of this audience is the fitness mindset, the nutrition mindset. And there is so much information, misinformation out there, bro science, and just personal trial and error. Something that I picked up from one of my other favorite podcasts, Wellness Force. Josh Trent, the host, he always talks about be your N equals 1. And I'm talking to a science man, so you know what I'm talking about. Be your own participant, be your own study, and just have this sense of awareness that you have to go through this kind of trial and error episode, see what works for you, see what doesn't. Literally every body is different. So
if you could give us a little bit of a crash course specifically on this protein synthesis, what is maybe some of or one of the biggest misconceptions around protein synthesis? We got to just race home and down a protein shake within 15 minutes after a workout. How long do we have to really get the most bang for our buck in eating something, particularly protein after a workout? And how do we go from ingestion to gains, man?
Cool. Yeah, this is right up my alley. So muscle protein synthesis is the process in which you take amino acids, which, in other words, you take protein from the blood and you start to synthesize muscle from them, muscle protein. Muscle protein synthesis is elevated when you consume protein, and specifically a specific amino acid in protein called leucine. Leucine has been shown to be the trigger to muscle protein synthesis, and you need between 2 to 3 grams of leucine in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, in order to stimulate muscle building. Now, 2 to 3 grams of leucine can be found in about 20 to 40 grams of a high-quality protein source, depending on the protein source. For example, eggs have a very high have a very high leucine content, and you'll need less protein in order to stimulate protein synthesis, versus something like lentils, which have a lower leucine content, and you'll need a lot more protein of lentil protein in order to stimulate protein synthesis. Once protein synthesis is stimulated, it remains elevated for about 3 to 5 hours, and after which it begins to fall. During the time that protein synthesis is elevated, your body is actually insensitive to a further stimulus in muscle protein synthesis. So that bro myth of having to eat every 2 hours is actually false, because what we see is that there is a refractory period, a period of when you consume a good bolus of protein, you elevate protein synthesis, and it seems that it is such a high energy, high demand process that your body won't stimulate it any further until the concentrations of amino acids in your blood starts to fall again. So if you don't let the concentration of amino acids in your blood fall, if you're eating every hour and a half, then when you consume a protein meal again, your body won't have that same muscle building response to it.
Not getting the most efficiency, it sounds like. So so what you're saying is that it's kind of how much you have, not when you have it.
Yeah, it's a lot of how much you have it. So you stimulate it, and you consume protein, and you stimulate protein synthesis, and then the concentration of amino acids have to fall. So you have to wait about I'd say 3 hours in order to get the most efficient response again. So because of this, we know that eating too frequently isn't optimal, but also it has been shown that you cannot make up for missing protein feedings by just having one larger one at the end of the day. Because like I said, protein synthesis only lasts about 3 to 5 hours. So what has been shown to give the most muscle gains is to stimulate it every 3 to 5 hours. And this roughly translates to about 4 protein feedings spread between 3 to 5 hours apart. That is most likely what people will consume, because you're not going to be awake for much longer to consume a lot more protein feedings than that.
Very true. Very true. Now, would you say or give the same explanation to someone that is maybe just looking to maintain, or someone that is just, I just want to eat better and I'm working out, I'm active, I just want to make sure my energy in is most effectively, most efficiently matching my energy out? What you're describing earlier, that kind of comes across as like, hey, I'm trying to put on muscle, trying to regrow muscle. Is that necessarily true, or is this just kind of a great general statement to anyone working out, to anyone pursuing any fitness goal, to just make sure that what you're eating is giving you the most bang for your buck?
So what I like to say is that if you are trying to maximize muscle gain, if this is something that you care about and you're passionate about it, and you can shape your lifestyle around maximizing muscular gains, then this is something that you might want to look to. However, if you're someone who you just want to to look better, feel better, be healthier, be here longer to kick it around with your kids, which is just totally fine. Not everyone wants to be a muscle monster. Then you just have to find what works for you and stick with it. I've seen it so many times where people try to maximize nutrition in order to maximize muscular gains, and then all of a sudden they miss the forest for the trees and they say screw it to everything because they can't keep up with the frequent protein feedings. No, if intermittent fasting, if 3 meals a day, if eating only at breakfast, whatever the case may be, if that is what allows you to stick to your goals, then by all means, don't listen to this and stick to your goals. Stick to your plan. Do what you can do, what you can stick to in order to keep up a healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, and move towards your goals.
Beautiful. Well said, man. While we've got the scientists on here, I would love to kind of let's go through maybe some common misconceptions, to see what's maybe fact, what's maybe fiction, and get your professional opinion on this. You game?
Sure, let's do it.
So we've all heard, for as long as we could ever pick up a dumbbell, that if you want to increase your muscle mass, if you want to grow, gain weight, bulk up, whatever, you have to be eating at least 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein. Is that true?
No, there is there's a really big meta-analysis right now led by Stu Phillips, showing that the overwhelming amount of research has shown that you only need 0.82 grams of protein per pound of body weight in order to maximize muscle protein synthesis. And this has been shown in conditions where people are eating more calories than they need, so a bulking condition, or when people are cutting. They've shown this in very aggressive cuts of deficits up to 40%. 0.82 grams of protein per body weight is all that you need in order to maximize your muscular progress. Now, that being said, there is also a lot of research to show that a higher protein intake can help you to keep satiated, which could be a reason for why you might choose to go for a gram per pound, or maybe 1.2 grams per pound. But if you strictly want to just get enough to keep up the muscle gains, 0.82 grams per pound is all you need.
Would you say that there is any physiological or even biochemical harm in consuming more than that? When people get into, 1.5 to 2 grams, even plus, these professional athletes and bodybuilders that are eating, 5,000-6,000 calories a day, and that's kind of their new maintenance, they have to be consuming more than 1 gram per pound of body weight protein. But in your professional opinion, would you say, is there any true harm, or is it just kind of a waste of money, a waste of calories to just go above that?
I would say there is no harm. There is, I can't remember the exact study right now, but they followed people around for, I think it was a year, and they were consuming 2 grams of protein per pound, somewhere around there. And they found absolutely no negative side effects on any sort of kidney values. There wasn't anything weird with creatine kinases, with
and these were all
creatinine
active
excretion.
people, right?
Yeah. It was athletes. However, if you already have a pre-existing renal condition, then you might not want to have a high protein diet. Personally, I think a lot of us athletes grew up with a fairly high protein intake diet. And for myself, I have to stop myself from not eating like 1.5 grams per pound, just because that's how I was raised. But I wouldn't say that there's a physiological advantage to it. It's just personal preference. Some people just prefer eating meat rather than rice or avocado, if you like fats.
Now, you also mentioned kind of some magical words that I know a lot of my audience can relate to, and that's, the bulking, the cutting, the macro split. Now, I'm all about just efficiency. And of course, when it comes to the human body, muscle mass preservation is always going to be beneficial, whether you're bulking or cutting or trying to just maintain weight. And in order to do that, my philosophy and all my training education has always been to keep protein levels the same. That is, if you're active, if you're working out, free weights, body weight, whatever, but whatever your body composition or weight goals are, is to keep protein consistent. Would you also say that regardless of the composition or weight goal, consistency in protein calories is always going to be your best friend, or is there anything else different out there?
Yeah, I would say that that's a very good thing to keep in mind. There's a lot of research to show that people who tend to have a moderately high protein intake are the people who maintain their body weight the best. Um, there is no research to show that you need more protein when you're cutting or when you're bulking. If anything, the research would show that you might need slightly less when you're bulking. But like you said, I just like to keep things even throughout. I find that always keeping things the same allows me to adhere to my diet the best, and it helps other people adhere to their diet the best because then they're not having to switch things around when it comes to protein.
Now, is protein kind of the king macronutrient? And maybe for those of you listening, if you're not sure what that means, a macronutrient are just these entities, these things that make up calories, your fats, your carbohydrates, your proteins, sugar, alcohol, things like that. The three kings are fat, carb, protein. And that's always how people are looking, what's my macro split? How much carb, how much protein, how much fat? Does protein kind of drive that? Again, regardless of the goal, would you always kind of put protein as kind of the king macro?
Yeah, because protein is the only thing that can stimulate muscle protein synthesis, and it is the only thing that can cause you to build more muscle tissue. Carbs can be used as fuel, fats can be used as fuel, but none of them can be used to actually build more lean muscle tissue.
If you could expand upon that, man. So talking about these other food stuffs that give us energy versus giving us protein synthesis, kind of expand upon that.
Sure. So, like I said, muscle protein synthesis is a building muscle from protein. It is protein is made up of amino acids, and when you ingest a protein source, your body breaks down these amino acids and uses them for several different functions. One of which is going to be building muscle tissue. So, the only thing that contains amino acids is protein, and that is the only thing that can be used to actually build lean muscle tissue. Carbohydrates and fats can be stored as energy or used as energy, but they don't have the nitrogen and the amino acids that are needed to actually synthesize new muscle tissue. So you can eat all the carbs and fats that you want. If you have a very, very low protein intake diet, then you can very severely restrict your ability to maximize your muscular progress.
So if we're trying to bulk up, are you saying that it's not as important to increase protein calories versus the others for actual growth? The other ones they're just going to give us energy, right?
Yeah. So you don't need to increase protein intake because one of the things that happens when you're consuming more calories, more energy than what is needed, is that your body no longer needs to use muscle as energy. One of the ways that your body gets energy is that it will constantly break down your muscle tissue to use as energy, and this is something that just goes on throughout the day. However, if you are in an energy excess, it will break down less muscle tissue and build more muscle tissue, and as a result, you will accumulate more muscle tissue.
What's Oh wait for that.
Sorry, there's construction going outside.
I was gonna wait for that to pass.
Trash.
Oh man, it's something I just said triggered my my Echo to light up. So hopefully she doesn't start talking to us here. No, we're good. Okay. No, Miguel, having a passion and interest for it on the scientific level is one thing, and it definitely sounds like you know the science, your craft. How do we translate this?
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good, man. I was just trying to give it a pause. How do we translate this into real life? We're just the average consumer. We're not getting our degree or trying to get published in nutrition or exercise physiology. What do you tell someone who is just going about their day trying to, again, make the most bang for their buck, get the most nutritional value out of their food sources? How do we decipher these overwhelming things known as food labels and nutrition facts, and just look for the most efficiency in our food to maximize our physical activity potential?
So what I like to tell people is to have between 3 to 4 protein feedings per day, because again, if we're talking to someone who just wants to maintain, who just wants to be healthier, to have 3 to 4 protein feedings per day of a high quality protein source. So something like from an animal source, dairy, eggs, space that out evenly about 3 to 5 hours apart, and then to kind of consume fats and carbs as their hunger tells them to, not based upon some hedonistic drive to eat a a Pop-Tart or whatever, but really, really listen to their intuition and say, okay, well, do I need to be eating this candy or whatever? And rather just focus on eating the protein to stimulate muscle growth, and then fill in the rest of the hunger by eating a healthy carb source or a healthy fat source. And again, this is assuming that the person is not tracking macros. If they are tracking macros, then we can get into more specifics.
Yeah, let's take a step back even further. Maybe someone listening right now, or just anyone in general, they're not on any physical activity. They're not on any exercise programming. They haven't even gotten to that point yet. But maybe they want to start first in the kitchen. They want to start cleaning up what they're eating. Is protein as important for just day-to-day living if we're not going in the gym and tearing down our muscle fibers every day?
I would say so, because it is what is going to keep you the most satiated. So if someone is having like a little bit of a higher protein intake, then they are less likely to snack later throughout the day on these like very high calorie carbohydrate snacks that people tend to have. And it just gives you a nice base, because if you're always including protein with your meals, then you are less likely having actual mixed meals rather than just snacking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is just bringing to mind so many former clients of mine that like, oh, I need to get protein powder, right? I need to get, if I'm trying to get healthy, I need to just have all these protein shakes and stuff in my life. What do you say to that? Where can we go? Where can we find these incredible protein sources in naturally occurring foods?
You can find them from any animal source that you see is very high in protein. So chicken, beef, fish. I would say that for the average person to focus on getting a lean protein source, so a protein source that does not have a lot of fat. That way you can choose to add in fat from other things, and you can measure how much fat you're getting in. Other great sources of protein are eggs, egg whites, dairy products like yogurts, fat-free cheeses. Things like this are going to be great protein sources, very, very, very high quality.
Now, outside of the animal kingdom, and this is kind of funny because how I have my little home studio set up, I'm actually staring at a tub of one of our sponsors and good friends over at BPN, their latest vegan protein powder. And
oh, I've heard a lot about that.
It's amazing. It tastes great, mixes well, shameless plug, BPN, bpnsubs.com, ever forward, save 10%. But, I really feel that this whole clean eating, that's always been a thing. But as of late, I've noticed a trend that it's becoming more popular to eat more clean, especially a lot of people are going vegan, not really for any other ethical or moral purposes, just because of they're trying to just, clean up their diet or try something different and see how their body responds to it. So I do see a shift in popularity and consumption of vegan products. Where can we look in the vegan world? Are vegan protein sources as high quality? Again, are they the most efficient? Are we really getting the most bang for our buck again in consuming something like, pumpkin seed or watermelon seed or, these lentils versus a whey or a casein or a beef protein, something like that?
Right. So that is where we're going to tie things back into leucine. Remember that I said that you need between 2 to 3 grams of leucine in order to stimulate protein synthesis. Now, it is not a linear relationship. It is not like the more leucine you have, the more protein synthesis you stimulate. It is a threshold. So it is like turning on a TV button, I like to say. You aren't going to turn the TV on by lightly tapping it on the button. It doesn't have a slightly on, more on, and then on switch. It is either it's on or it's off. So you need those 2 to 3 grams of leucine in order to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Without them, you don't trigger it at all. And then once you trigger it, the effects pretty much get maximized as soon as it happens. So again, like a TV remote, you need to apply the correct amount of pressure on that button in order for the TV to turn on. And then once it's on, you can't turn it more on. It's just on or off.
Ah, that's a great analogy, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. So with the leucine, things like animal proteins, dairy products, they have a very high leucine content. So it is more likely that you're only going to need between 20 to 30 grams of that protein source in order to stimulate protein synthesis, in order to get that most bang out of your buck. And the great thing about the animal sources is that it only contains calories from protein. It only has protein. You can pick an animal thing like a chicken breast that has no fat, and then you're only getting in the protein.
Yeah.
Vegan protein source. Sorry,
I was just saying, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Know your source.
Yeah, know your source. Vegan proteins, on the other hand, they are poor in leucine. They do not have as much leucine as animal sources. So instead of having to eat between 20 to 30 grams of protein in order to stimulate protein synthesis, you might be looking at 30 to upwards of 45, depending on the source that you're picking. So now you are looking at getting 45 grams of protein or 40 grams of protein on average from most vegan proteins to stimulate protein synthesis. However, that is going to come with probably like 60 grams of carbs and maybe and a lot of other fat, depending on the protein source you're picking.
A lot more calories most likely.
So if you're a lot more, for example, lentils, I think you need about 40 grams of protein from lentils in order to stimulate protein synthesis. Cool. But you would get 40 grams of protein from like 150 grams of chicken breast versus like 300 grams of lentils, somewhere around there, 300 to 400 grams of lentils.
All right, now what do you say? Because there's definitely going to be the person listening.
That is going to make you hella gassy.
Yeah, there's... Oh, I'm sorry, man. I missed it. I cut off there.
Oh, so that is going to come with a lot of carbohydrates. So now instead of stimulating protein synthesis for 100, 150 calories, you're having to spend like 300 calories to get that same effect in protein synthesis.
Yeah, and you may not have room for those extra calories. You know, this is such a, I love that we're talking about this because this is such a common misconception that, you know, by eating all these different things, you know, vegan, vegetarian things that, you know, it's better, it's healthier for you. But, you know, honestly, you know, how many vegetarians, how many vegans do you know that have like the body type or the composition goal that you're working towards? And most of them, in my opinion, I have come across, they either drastically underconsume or overconsume calories, particularly protein calories. Because you just said, I mean, in order to get the most efficient form of these macronutrients, it takes so much more other stuff, so many more other calories, or they go on the opposite end and they just don't get nearly enough protein, and which means they're also under consuming total calories.
Right. And if you look at a lot of the vegans, people might say, oh, well, he's huge, whatever. But most of them built the majority of their foundation while eating meat.
Yes. Yeah. And to kind of even expand on that, I'm sure there's going to be the person listening who's just like, I'm just going to eat vegan and just, you know, supplement with leucine. Is that the same thing? Is there even such a thing as leucine powder I can just sprinkle on my quinoa and tabbouleh salad?
Yeah, it actually is. It was a study. This is one of the major studies by actually Dr. Layne Norton, where he gave mice a protein that he gave them either whey and which is a very high in leucine and triggers anabolism, triggers protein synthesis, and also gave the mice wheat. Now, wheat is a very poor quality protein source. It has very little leucine. So when he gave just the whey and just the wheat, he saw what I have said, that the whey stimulated protein synthesis and the wheat did not. However, then what he did, what him and his colleagues did, is that they gave whey and wheat, however, supplemented the wheat group with leucine to match the leucine concentration of the whey. And when they did that, they saw an equal protein synthesis response in both groups. And for this reason, a good vegan protein powder will add in leucine.
Good to know. Like we were talking about earlier, know your source. And this is where flipping over the back of your food, the back of your bag, your box, your tub of protein, and getting familiar and educating and empowering yourself with what this list of ingredients actually is, knowing what these nutrition facts are, you are going to make the best decision for your goals, your body type. It can be really overwhelming. I know, especially if you're listening and you're new to this whole health thing, you're new to this fitness thing, you know, maybe you just joined a gym or you just started walking for the first time, or you're trying to just, you know, clean up your eating habits. this can be so overwhelming. Trust me, I was there. In some ways, I'm still there. Miguel, I'm sure you can relate, man. Because the more you know, the more you find out you don't know. And they're constantly changing things. And, even the nutrition facts, the label itself is changing. They're finally making it bigger so people can actually read the damn thing.
Yes.
Thank you, U.S. government, for that. But, bottom line is just know what you're putting in your body. Know these foodstuffs.
Yeah.
Know, more importantly, if you can't pronounce it or if you've never heard of these things, odds are it's not really meant for you, or maybe just do your research first.
Dude, that is something that I actually say on a daily basis because despite, knowing all the science and really knowing more food ingredients than most people, I still abide by that rule. Like, if I don't know how it got in there, I will most likely not eat it. I tell people that I eat like a hippie.
Some people, even my wife, she calls me, I'm such a picky eater. And I'm like, no, I just know what I like and I know what I don't. And more importantly, I know what this food is and I don't know what the hell that shit is. So I'm keeping that out of my body. But even another point I'll make in reading nutrition facts and just becoming more educated, more empowered. A quick fun fact in relation to nutrition facts is if, there's the nutrition facts or the nutrient label, and then there's the actual nutrients list. Now, again, depending on what you're buying, this could be just a couple things or it could be a laundry list of just really, really small print. A really good way to kind of just decipher and make a better decision, maybe if you're looking at 2 loaves of bread or 2 boxes of pasta or whatever, the shorter the list of the ingredients, I don't care what you're looking at, is always going to be a better option. That just means it's less processed, it has less additives, less artificial flavors, preservatives, things like that. So that's, Coach Chase's number 1 recommendation is go with the shortest list possible of whatever you're trying to consume or eat. And then after that, looking at that list, they are labeled in order of dosage. So when you look at the first ingredient on that list compared to the last ingredient, that goes from the most to the least. I can't tell you how many times I've walked some of my clients through this and they're reading back to me some of these food labels of things they eat. And it's like the first ingredient is sugar. Second ingredient is corn syrup. Third ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. So you're telling me that what you're eating, dose for dose is just sugar, sugar, sugar. So keep that in mind. When you're looking at it, it goes from highest to lowest. So, again, with your goal in mind, with your health in mind, and trying to just make the best decision for your life possible, just know what you're putting in your body. Empower yourself. I challenge everyone listening to just do that.
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting that that you talk about this. I remember a few years ago, when if it fits your macros, flexible dieting was the big thing. And everyone was tracking their macros and everyone was carrying around food scales, disregarding micronutrient composition, phytochemicals, and all these things. And it's interesting. I was having this conversation with someone, and it seems like people are switching over to more intuitive eating.
Yes.
And they're going back to clean eating, and it's really amazing to see people sort of making that shift, because the industry really did rebel against clean eating at one point. I mean, you looked at anyone's Instagram and it was Pop-Tarts and protein shakes.
Yeah, I've been there, man. It sounds like you've been going through my MyFitnessPal years ago. It's funny. We all have to start somewhere, and that for me, personally speaking, I've been using MyFitnessPal for, on and off for the better part of almost 8 years. I think I'm kind of aging myself a little bit, but yeah, I remember when I first found out about it, when I was, trying to work towards not just, hey, I'm trying to just eat better, look better, feel better, but I wanted to get specific with my goals, and I realized I needed to specifically track these things. And so I was like, I went from like, I'm dumping out all the enriched pasta and whatever I'm eating and filling it with whole grain, whole wheat, getting as clean as possible. And then I realized that was a giant pain in my ass and just unrealistic. I couldn't really live the lifestyle I wanted, or just, it came down to time, and it was consuming so much of my time and money. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try this whole just if it fit your macros thing. And so I was eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, just, abiding by my macronutrient split, my calorie goals for the day. And, did both of those things work for me? Yes. But it's not because one of them was better. It's just because I had this discipline and this consistency in my diet. And if you're listening, yes, protein is absolutely important. And what Miguel has been sharing with us is some incredible ways to just make better use out of your protein and make a more informed decision on your protein source, and relating that to your goal. Are you trying to stay the same weight? Are you trying to lose weight, gain weight? Are you trying to really maximize your protein synthesis potential, get as much hypertrophy, muscle growth as possible? And that it's all relative. The most important thing is that you just need to be consistent. Pick a lane, stay consistent with it, see how it affects you, see how it doesn't, and then, drive on to the next thing. So these things all go in cycles, man. That's what I was just trying to get at is, I'm off and on with MyFitnessPal now, and I'll use it. Right now I'm on a little bit of a mini bulk. So I need to make sure I'm as consistent with my calories. And it's funny, when I got off of tracking, I was actually finding during this mini bulk that I actually wasn't eating nearly as much as I thought I was. So even, here, Coach Chase, this guy who's been doing it for a long time, and I make my living off of it. Once you eliminate or remove a little bit of that awareness, man, it's so easy to get off track. So, like Miguel was saying, things like MyFitnessPal, it's just a great way to just show you what you're already doing, what you're already consuming, how those foodstuffs are composed, sodium, fat, electrolytes, sugar, protein, all the above. It'll show you in so many amazing ways, sometimes some really shocking and some surprising things out there you're eating.
Right, and I think that tracking is a very good way to get started. I firmly believe that at one point or another, pretty much everyone should track their nutrients, because that is what really, really allows you to judge how much you should be eating, which foods contain what, and really teach you how to develop that intuitive eye. For example, I don't track any macro, but it's because I have tracked macros for so long that I know how to mix my hunger signals with what exactly that food contains to determine what an appropriate serving size is.
And that'll come with time. Definitely. I mean, Miguel, you're a great example of that. I think I'm a great example of that. Is, once you begin to develop this consistency and these habits, your body will begin to tell you, hey, I'm low in this. Hey, I'm high in that. I need more water. I need more just general calories. But, that takes time, everyone. It just takes time. Just trust the process, fall in love with the process, and you will become a much more empowered person because of it.
Yes, definitely. And one more thing that I wanted to touch on the vegan topic, it just came back to me. I wanted to give a practical take-home message for the vegan listeners out there. The protein source that you're getting, or your protein powder, it will have, Chase, like you said, the on the back of it, it will most likely have the amino acid label. So to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck, make sure that your protein powder has somewhere around 2,000 milligrams of leucine per serving.
Okay. Really specific.
And that is what it's going to. Yeah, because that means that the protein manufacturer made sure to make up for that leucine effect and really give the people something that is going to stimulate protein synthesis. And most high quality protein powders are going to do
Beautiful,
this.
Man. Miguel, I love we've been able to combine some of the science. I haven't had an exercise science, biochemistry 101 refresher in a while. So this has been great, man. Thank you for sharing, your experience. And it's just another example, your proof that, what we talk about here on Ever Forward is that, find a way to make a purpose out of your passion. And you've done exactly that, man. We wouldn't be talking if you just decided to just table that interest. But, you've been engaging and working with and for some of these incredible movers and shakers and scientists and, PhD doctors and just these big fitness social media influencers because you followed your heart. You found an interest, you pursued it, and you took action, man. So, hats off to you.
Oh, thank you very much. That is one thing that I will say to the listeners is that one of the common questions I get asked, because I'm 21 years old and I have associated myself with a lot of the people that most people in the fitness industry would die for, like people associating with yourself with Layne Norton, Alan Aragon. People really, really want to do these things. People ask me, how do you do it? And I just say, if you really, really have a passion for something, then you need to make that your everything that you do needs to go towards that. If you aren't enjoying the process of what you currently do, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. The main thing that got me out of biomedical engineering and into this field was that I was doing cardio one day, and I was listening to actually a video by Layne Norton where he says, if you aren't enjoying the grind, if you aren't enjoying the process of getting there, and you're only looking forward to the paycheck, the degree, whatever the case may be, the reward, then you are never going to be truly happy, because you are going to get there and then you're going to have another goal, and then you're going to hate getting to the goal, and then you're going to set another goal which you're going to hate, and so on and so forth. But if you can truly, truly, truly love what you do, love the process, love the hard work, that is when you find true happiness.
Ditto. Amen. All things yes. Well put, my friend. Yeah. Miguel, kind of getting towards the end here, man, I want to ask you one final question. And it's, again, like I said, it's very clear that you love what you do. You have a passion for it, and you've been able to find a purpose for it, which is what living a life ever forward is all about. How would you say that what you do now, the science you provide, the research you're doing, the information that you're sharing, how does this help others live a life ever forward?
I try to help people with on two different sides. I really, really find that what makes me the happiest is to know that I have helped everyone that has come across my way, and that I have been kind to everyone across my way. Now, what this means is that I honestly, genuinely like helping that soccer mom who has been struggling to lose those 20 pounds for the last 5 years, and I like to get content out there that will help her lose those 20 pounds, or help that dad be able to play with his kids. And I love helping those people to just feel healthier, look better, and feel better about themselves. And also, I love helping my competitors. I love helping a competitor get on stage and win, and just drive them forward. So I think that the way that I help people live that life ever forward is I try to get them towards their goals, and provide content and science and education for everyone, no matter what their goal is, and help them achieve that goal.
Beautiful. That's what it's all about, everybody. Just find a way to do what you love. And I think what every successful person has to share, their common denominator. And I define success as, someone truly doing their life's work, living, breathing, eating, just existing in their truth.
Yes.
is finding a way to serve others in that process, to help others, because that is 100% going to be the longevity, the long-term way to sustain your livelihood, to sustain your same passion, is to just, pay it forward, share the wealth, share the knowledge, because I promise you, someone somewhere out there has something, or is doing something that you're going to need. And if they're not sharing it with you, they're going to be stifling you, and vice versa. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy either way. So do what you love, serve others. Boom. That's it.
Yeah. Always have helping people at heart. I find that when helping people is your true intention, then everything comes into play. And one of the things I also mean by this is that I will get myself even more educated, because I want to help my clients even more. Like, I want them to succeed on a level that nobody else succeeds.
Absolutely. So true, man. And that's definitely, that just defines, a servant's heart. So that shines in your work and all your content, man. So thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for carving out some time and sharing your truth here with us on Everforward Radio.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for all the content that you provide for everyone. I find that all of your episodes have a really practical and good take-home message for everyone.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It lets me know I'm doing something right. All right, everybody, that's going to be a wrap for today's episode. Real quick, Miguel, where can my audience connect with you? We'll, of course, link all this down in the show notes, but where are you hanging out most online? Where can they find your content?
Awesome. So they can find me on Instagram at mblacutt. One of the cool things I do on there is that if you DM me a question, I take one question and answer it very thoroughly every single day. So that's something people enjoy. I also post cool infographics. And then you can find me on YouTube at Miguel Blacutt. And you can find my team at physiquedevelopment.com. That is where
and
we offer
Blacutt
coaching.
is Blacutt. Again, we'll have all this linked down in the show notes for everybody. Awesome, Miguel. It's been a pleasure talking with you, man. Thank you for stirring up my exercise science brain. It hasn't been stimulated in a little while. Thank you all so much for joining me again this week. I truly hope that you have enjoyed this episode and its message. If you have found value in Everforward Radio, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to the podcast as well as taking just a few seconds and leaving it a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. This is the best way to make sure our message continues to reach others. Thanks again, and I hope that this content helps you live a life ever forward.